Hello everyone and welcome back to the monthly deck building contest hosted by Architect.com. I'm Matt Morgan. I'm joined once again by my co-host Olivia Gobert-Hicks. Olivia, what's going on, friend?
Oh, not too much, friend. I think it's funny that you... Well, no, I just was gone last month. Okay, I guess it's fine that I'm coming back again.
It's only been 1 month, but it is good to have you back.
It feels like it's been so much longer.
I know, but we did get to hang out in Vegas. At least it was good to get FaceTime again. And
I know, yeah, it was very nice.
It was great. And it's actually great to have some finalists. So we're back once again for November's deck building contest. And we've got a great prompt. We've got some good deck finalists that we're going to talk about here. So Olivia, what is the prompt that we have for this month's contest?
November's prompt is to brew a commander legal list helmed by a new commander from Foundation's JumpStart. All the submissions will just use one of the 27 commanders found in that new set. We want to see what they could make stand out.
As always, the votes are going to be done by voting the ones that you like the most. And Olivia, cardsphere.com credit on the line again. $250 for first place, $150 for second place, and $100 for third place. Always a great way to score some cards over at cardsphere.com.
Let's get to our first finalist. Our first deck list is submitted by Meme Spray Snack with the clever title, I Thought Vampires Turned Into Bats. Fumulus the Infestation is 3 and a black for a legendary vampire insect. That's a 2/2. It's got flying and death touch, and whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. Whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Our builder's notes say it's a vampire kindred while also secretly being insect kindred based around sacrificing. The goal of the deck is to go wide with vampires from the deck and insects from the commander while draining everyone else out. But it's not just enough for us to sacrifice creatures, we need more value. In order to force our opponents to sacrifice, we're also running Butcher of Malakir, Grave Pact, and Dictate of Erebos to make sure that the board stays clear for insects and vampires to get through.
Yes, Fumulus doesn't explicitly say anything about vampires, but it just happens to be a lot of vampires are very good at making sure that you get payoffs for a lot of things dying, which Fumulus definitely wants to happen.
Yes, just looking through this deck list, I mean, it is spicy drains, payoffs for things dying, ways to make the board empty once more. It's a very brutal deck.
It is very brutal, but
Hell yeah.
It is kind of fun to see Masquerade Nexus come down.
Oh, for
because
sure.
It's going to make sure that all of your creatures become a certain type. So if you want all your vampires to also become insects, you're able to do that, but they're still vampires, so they get to see some benefit from stuff like Cordial Vampire.
Having tons of the edicts, Meat Hook Massacre, Toxic Deluge, Kindred Dominance, all of these things are obviously like really building up a crazy engine of bugs and vampires to just knock people out.
I mean, I also love seeing stuff like Sengir, the Dark Baron in there. I know Gavin Verhey was very excited for Baron Sengir to be on a card again, but sadly people haven't really latched onto to Baron Sengir in the new form at least. So it is cool to see that around. And then, again, there's just a lot of really cool payoffs. There's Mephidros Vampire, which I don't think I've seen in a long, long time, probably in like 10 years.
Yeah, I actually think it's really interesting too, having so many sack outlets in this deck. And then there's actually a couple cards that are run specifically as fodder, like not just recursion of like animate, dead, or reanimate, but having Bloodghast and Oathsworn Vampire that you're constantly able to recast and resacrifice is a really clever inclusion here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And then Pyre of Heroes is just a nice kindred card that if you're playing a certain creature type, you're able to loop it around and find the right ones while getting rid of other vampires that you have. So nice flavorful inclusion to make sure you're tutoring, but it's not just a generic tutor either.
Right. Yeah, having stuff like this. I mean, when was the last time Henrika Damonte got played, right?
Not very often,
Who can even tell me what that card does? Put it in the comments. Let's see how good you are. And don't check first. We're noticing.
We're going to get into a 2-color deck for our second submission. This one was submitted to us by the user Gelbean695, and it is Slinza the Spiked Stampede. For 4 and a green, you get a legendary 5/5 beast that says beast spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and then each other beast creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 count on it, and whenever Slinza or another creature with power 4 or greater enters, you may pay 1 in hybrid Gruul mana. When you do, Slinza fights target creature you don't control. So you have a beast synergy built into there, but you're not really doing that in this deck. And this deck is actually kind of wild with what it ends up doing.
So the deck is actually built around Formless Genesis. Just as a refresher, Formless Genesis is 2 and a green for a kindred sorcery, Shapeshifter. It's a changeling. It lets you create XX colorless shapeshifter creature tokens with changeling and death touch, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. This also has retrace.
Yeah, so retrace is the mechanic where you can cast this card from your graveyard if you pay its normal cost and then you discard a land card from your hand. And so when looking through the submissions, I saw that this had 50 lands in it, which instantly got my attention because it's not every day you get to see 50 lands in a deck. And so this is just all about kind of comboing off with Formless Genesis and some cost reduction spells and creating just a ton of shapeshifters. And the nice thing about this is they have changeling, so you're able to build in any certain creature type synergies into that because it's going to benefit from all of them.
Even though, this is clearly a Formless Genesis deck, please, friends, let's not tell Brian Kibler about Slinza. That'd be great. Thanks. He does not need more Girl Smash. No, but this is actually, it's really clever. Basically, what Jelbean 695 is going for is having this Formless Genesis just become a chain. So using the commander for the beast cost reduction and having so many changelings around is actually a really clever workaround for getting creatures that you might need to get this engine going. I thought that was actually just a really smart way. Yes, there's 50 lands, but there's also these neat engine pieces that you can get out with this commander that does not really telegraph what you're doing with this deck. It kind of leads you down a different path reading it, right? You're going to assume that there's beast kindred stuff, that it's just big stompy smashy, and instead it's actually this really crazy land matters in the yard kind of deck.
Yeah, and it's super cool too. I also love just how you have stuff like Goblin Recruiter, Goblin Matron, Flamekin Harbinger, and Elvish Harbinger, but they're all tutoring for the same card, which never happens in any other deck. But yes, you're right. There's certain engines and payoff cards. If you have a whole bunch of Formless Genesis tokens on the battlefield, Omnath Locus of Rage cares about elementals dying, and those tokens having changeling makes them elementals. So you're going to get a lot of death triggers. You're going to get a lot of just really cool payoffs. I really like seeing stuff like Herald of Slaanesh. It's 2 and a red for a card from Warhammer 40k Precons that says demon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. So you have a little backup protection when it comes to your cost reduction, but also says other demons you control have haste. So you can crank out a bunch of 1 mana XXs, and then they're all going to have haste when they enter the battlefield. And so, Olivia, I know you said you don't want to see more Gruul Stompy stuff, but you're going to see a lot of Gruul Stompy stuff in this deck.
I know, and that's okay. I actually really appreciate how both of these decks have kind of rolled into that shapeshifter synergy and having the changeling matter, and really be an option here. And even with that being the case, they are so completely different in their approach and what kind of thing they're going for and what the deck wants to do. It's really neat seeing kind of the myriad options that shapeshifter / changeling enables.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it too. So we got one last deck here to talk about. So Olivia, why don't you get us into this last option?
I sure will. This next deck is submitted by Simic Dragon. I wonder what kind of color combos or creatures they like. Anyway, the commander is Hurska Sweet Tooth, 2 and a green for a legendary bear. That's a 3/3.
Oh, it's not a 2/2.
It's not really a bear. It's actually,
Nope.
it's a pretend bear. Or the bear ate too much honey. Either way, whenever Hurska Sweet Tooth attacks, create a food token. Whenever you gain life, you may pay green or white. When you do, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained.
The brewer had a really good summary typed up for us. Hurska Sweet Tooth loves the sweeter things in life, specifically the ability to get bigger when you gain life. Big bites are better than nibbles. We want to gain a lot of life per instance, and so this deck takes advantage of biting and the first strike combat damage step to double dip into your power boost.
So clever.
And that's absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's doing a really good job at utilizing double strike. So you have cards like True Conviction that all your creatures get double strike, but they also get lifelink. So you have an opportunity to pump them up in between first strike and the regular combat damage step.
Yeah, having the double strike lifelink stuff is absolutely nutty because it means that they have basically first strike and regular attack. So that double strike damage comes out first and then happens a second time. So you can absolutely double dip with this sort of stuff. And there are a lot of enablers for that here.
Yeah, it's always fun getting to see cards like Heliod Suncrowned Heliod has kind of been the bane of some arena games that I've gotten to play lately, but it is super fun to see it in Commander because it can be so widespread, just powerful in a deck like this, in addition to having the chance with Hurska to have a pretty significant pump that just builds and builds on each other.
There's, of course, a super fun inclusion from Days of Old with Armadillo Cloak in here.
Yes.
I also love seeing God Eternal Okatra making a ton of zombies as you're casting out creatures, especially when there's things like Champion of Lamholt in this deck, Light of Promise, Nykthos Paragon, any of these little small things that let you get additional bonuses for creatures as they're coming in and make those double strikes even harder is really cool to see.
Yeah, Champion of Lamholt, tried and true, been around for forever, still just slaps.
Still relevant, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's still out here.
She's still out here, still crushing. It's great. So I just love a lot of what's going on here too. Fracturing Gust is a card that I don't get to see very often anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to just gain a ton of life and then also, have a massive trigger for Hurska to pump up a creature pretty significantly most games.
Hey, and we love seeing a Seraphic Steed coming out. That was one of my favorite cards in Outlaws draft, so I love seeing it here.
Yeah, I love seeing a Selesnya deck. I know I'm biased, I will admit that. But it is fun seeing one that's taken a little bit different approach, but it is still playing classic Selesnya cards like Rishkar's Expertise, one of my favorite cards of all time, so bonus points there from me. Awesome. Yeah, well, we got 3 pretty great submissions this month, so I'm very excited to see what the users out there all think. Make sure you go and vote, so click on the deck lists in the link below. They're all going to be in the video description of this video, so make sure you check that out and vote for your favorite decks. And Olivia, one more time, what are the folks winning as finalists this month?
As usual, our first place prize is $250 credit on cardsphere.com. Second place is $150 credit, and third place comes in at $100 credit on cardsphere.com.
Awesome. Well, everyone, make sure you get out there and vote. We'll have votes available until the 27th of November, so get them in by the end of the month. And with that, we're going to sign off. So, Olivia, real quick before we go, if anybody wants to check out more of your content and get more of you and find out who you are exactly, where can they do that at?
They can find me on YouTube at Elder Dragon Hijinks or at Commander at Home. Both of those are the other Commander gameplay channels that I am a co-host on. And I think I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky now, and that's it, at GoBearHicks.
Awesome. Well, check it out. And if you'd like to see me, you can find me here every week on the podcast, EDH Recast, and you can find me on pretty much any social media platform at Mathimus55. And with that, everybody, we'll sign off here, and we'll see you next month.
Have a good one.